McLaren had a very rough start to the 2022 season. A huge part of this is due to the performance of Daniel Ricciardo, the driver that was supposed to be their next big name. He signed for McLaren last year, and although he managed to win one race, his performance has been modest. But still, he managed to finish in the points section, and there were high expectations from him in the 2022 season. However, he's failed to complete them all, scoring just 11 points for the team so far. So the question has to be asked, is Ricciardo finished at McLaren? Is there any way that he can make a redemption in the team that has invested so much in him? And if not, what's next for the Honeybadger? Stay with us until the end of the video as we'll explain Ricciardo's bad performance in McLaren and what his future holds for him. Before we jump on the rant about Ricciardo's underperformance, let's talk about his signing first. He joined McLaren in the 2021 season, replacing Carlos Sainz, who went to Ferrari. Last year was amazing for McLaren, especially in the first half, when the team managed to bag some serious points. Lando Norris was one of the most constant drivers up on the podium, and the team managed to get a 1-2 finish in Monza after a very long time. Well, guess what? Ricciardo won that race. He had some serious battle with Verstappen at the beginning, but was able to cruise to win, with Norris following him for P2. McLaren was so good in the first half of the season that everybody called Sainz a madman for leaving such a fast progressing team for Ferrari, who were struggling back then to stay in the third position. In fact, McLaren was their main rival for the spot. But we must be honest and admit that apart from Monza, Ricciardo's performance in 2021 was moderate to say the least. He did manage to finish in the points section most of the time, but mostly from P7 to P10. Everybody was saying that Ricciardo still hasn't gotten a grip on the car, as even Daniel said on one occasion that the McLaren is very different from what he's used to. The car has a different braking grip, different throttle, and is overall different in design and performance from Renault and Red Bull. However, there isn't any excuse for Daniel's poor performance this season, as he's constantly getting outshined by the youngster Lando Norris. Norris is the bright star of the team, and it's safe to say that he's the favorite driver in the garage. He joined the team as a rookie and has been able to compete with very serious names throughout his short career so far. He still missed a win in F1 as he had a chance to grab it from Ricciardo last year in Monza. However, the team instructed him to cruise to win because they thought that the win itself would be a massive morale booster for Ricciardo. Norris has extended his deal with McLaren, and currently, his team is a one-man show, as he's responsible for almost all of the points that the team has so far. The first race of the 2022 season was a disaster for both McLarens. Their biggest issue, apart from the porpoising problem, was the braking system. Their brakes seemed unable to cool, and due to the overheating, they were mostly set on fire. This has seen both McLarens finishing way below the points table at the debut. However, Norris has managed to find some pace in the following races, as he even scored a podium in Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix this year, finishing P3. This is only adding to the narrative that Daniel Ricciardo is in a very bad position right now, as he surely feels the pressure of needing to deliver on a weekly basis. One could say that these are just rumors, and nobody believes that Daniel will be terminated earlier than anticipated. Well, that was before Zach Brown had come with the statement that he was very disappointed with Daniel's results throughout the season. For things to be more painful for Daniel, Brown has praised Norris's results, as he hinted that the team is in the current phase of a one-man team. This has happened last year with AlphaTauri, as Gasly was the go-to man of the team. However, he had Tsunoda, a 21-year-old rookie, as his teammate, and that outcome was somehow expected. Zach Brown didn't hold back when asked about Ricciardo and his performance so far. We obviously would like to see Daniel much closer to Lando and have a good inter-team battle. Daniel is just not comfortable yet with the car. We're trying everything we can. Again, it was a disappointing weekend. Short of Monza and a few races, it has not met his or our expectations of what we were expecting, Brown said. It's very interesting that Brown still uses the excuse of not getting used to the car, because all drivers have new cars now. The cars weigh more, racing has been brought to a closer manner, and yet Daniel isn't able to perform. This would have been the excuse last year, but Daniel isn't a rookie, and it's not like he has to get used to driving a space shuttle or something of that matter. Therefore, it's safe to say that many people believe that the Aussie is way past his prime and is rapidly degrading into a low-profile driver. That is, if he doesn't have any trick up his sleeve to prove us wrong. In addition to the earlier mentioned statement for Daniel, Brown also added some nice comments about Lando. I think Daniel's performance, also points to how good Lando is. When you look at the gap between Charles and Carlos, between Max and Sergio, there are gaps between teammates. I think Lando is one of the best drivers in the world at the moment, and I think it's also kind of a compliment to how good Lando is when you see the gap that exists. What's even more painful is that this was the statement prior to the Monaco GP. And if you aren't familiar with the results in Monaco, Norris had finished P6 while Ricciardo had finished P13. Daniel has also shared his thoughts on McLaren and his contract, and if there was any chance that he could be sacked earlier than 2023. I don't want to be racing around in 10th or 12th places. It's been a little bit more certainly testing at times in terms of trying to get up and maximize myself in this car, but we're working together hard at it. This team wants it, I want it, and we're just working through it, said Ricciardo regarding his latest struggles, to which he added, yes, it's clear, I got a contract until the end of 2023. COVID messed me up, so I just got confused with the years. Ricciardo finished jokingly about his contract. The drama that happened around him and his performance aren't on a non-founded basis. To have your team boss publicly speaking about the disappointment that he feels towards a driver isn't a small thing. So people have started discussing who could be a replacement for Ricciardo if he was to leave McLaren early. Although he doesn't want to admit it, no F1 driver would go public and say, yeah, I'm out, this isn't working. That would show his weak mentality of giving up, and no team would want to have that kind of a driver in their garage. Pierre Gasly is a driver that could enter the McLaren seat, and now that Perez has extended his contract with Red Bull, this seems like the only logical place for Gasly to go. Red Bull has shown no intention to bring Gasly back to their first team, even though he constantly proved himself last year with very stellar performances. However, the team has given Perez the 2-year extension, so a possible sign and trade between Gasly and Ricciardo is a very real option. Ricciardo would be back in Red Bull, while in their sister team AlphaTauri, and Gasly would have a new and fresh environment to prove himself. If Ricciardo doesn't switch seats with Gasly, another team that would gladly have him is Alpine. This would be a good reunion because he used to drive for Renault, now Alpine, and brought them podiums after a long wait. Alonso's seat isn't guaranteed as of now, but his recent performances have been hinting at the possibility of him continuing for yet another year at this team. So Ricciardo's doors in Alpine aren't fully opened as of now. At the end of the day, Ricciardo is a high-profile driver who always delivered when it was asked of him. His tenure in Red Bull went very well. Although he failed to win the championship, he was a constant challenger. Therefore, what he's going through right now may be just a little psychological burden on his shoulders. And Ricciardo is one of those drivers that can get this weight off his head in a matter of races. So, which is the best place for the Aussie and why? Let us know in the comments section down below about your predictions of Ricciardo's future in F1. Until then, take care and drive safely.